Alright guys, so we're back. So as you can see from the previous video, I've got pretty much the rest of the interior. I still got to take some trim pieces off, like over here and these ones. Right now I'm trying to work on getting the dash out, but first thing we got to do is remove the steering wheel. So the first thing to do, got to remove these bolts. These are just up right here. It's just holding that in, but unfortunately it's still in there quite a bit. So come over here to the engine side, and down there, right there, is the steering box. And I think that you can't really see it. I can barely see it myself, but right about there is a bolt, which I'm assuming is what's clamping the shaft into the actual steering box itself. So I'm gonna go grab some tools, and I'm going to try and break it free and see if we can't get this out of here. Probably gonna have to disconnect that transmission linkage also. What else? Well, it looks like one super crusty bolt, and however that linkage comes apart. Alright, let's go figure this out. I need a wrench. Hopefully this is long enough. Where's that bolt at? It is long enough. Okay. Oh, fuck. Alright, so the bolt's loose. I don't really know what the next step is gonna be. I don't know if that transmission linkage is connected to the engine or to the drive shaft, or if it's just a piece that sits there on top. I am not 100% sure. But we're gonna find out. Oh, it's definitely looser than it was. Being parked. Alright, so I'm gonna figure this out. I'll get back to you guys when I do. Alright, so it's been about probably 3 or 4 hours, and I finally got the tube off. That was probably the worst experience removing a steering column ever. So to actually remove this part, you can't actually remove this shaft here with the tube. It's not like a modern one where it's all just one piece and it's a spline shaft that fits in there. So the end of it on the steering box itself has actually got a worm gear that's pressed in there, and then it's integral to the actual steering box itself. So to remove it, you'd actually have to remove the steering box itself and then pull the whole thing out as one assembly, and then disassemble the actual steering box to remove or take the gear off, and then you can pull the shaft out. So obviously I'm not going to do that. That's a lot of work. But to remove this, first thing you got to do is remove the steering wheel, which I've got over there. So to remove the steering wheel, you got to take the horn off, and to do that, you just push it in and then rotate it, and it just comes right off. Really super easy. Actually, I really like that. Then you gotta remove the steering wheel, So these bolts need to be like 5/16. I think it's 20 or 24, whatever the fine thread is for 5/16. The store didn't have any, so I just put some 5/16 18 in there and then drove them home with a wrench. It's gonna cause me more work later on down the road, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Then put this in there, the steering wheel pops off. You do that, that loosens this tube up so you can pull that out. But before you can even pull this tube out, you've got to loosen this locking collar here on the base. And this has got a 7/16 Allen wrench in it, or Allen socket in it. I don't know if this is original or not, but mine is what mine had. And then once you do that, loosen that one up. There's another one. So you gotta there's another one right here. You gotta loosen up. This one had I think it was a 1/2 inch or a 9/16 bolt in it. So you loosen that one up. Loosen this one up, and then that'll actually free this tube from the actual box itself. And then you've got to disconnect the steering linkage, the actual column shifter. I had to cut mine because it was not coming out at all. So you actually got to come over here, take it off of this, pull the pin out, and then there's another pin connecting the actual piece to it, which I think is in there inside with it. Then you do that, and then you can just kind of pull the thing out and just finagle it through the hole here in the firewall. But the entire process is super annoying. Now I've got some extra work I got to do because my gear indicator fell out. This thing came off. My gear indicator fell out. This is obviously loose now. One of these screws here on the bottom, I think it's this one right here, that one's seized in there, which, I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. I'm not super worried about it. But yeah, anyways, that's the steering column, or well, the outer part of it anyway. So again, you can't actually remove this shaft. It's integral to the car itself. But now that this is out of the way, for the most part, I can start trying to take the dash out. I don't know how to do that, and all of the instruction manual things that I got just talk about removing the instrument cluster. But to do that, you gotta take the speaker thing off and take this trim out all the way around, assuming probably that. And then there's a bunch of bolts on the back. I'm probably gonna break something, yeah, with this as well. But gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. Alright. Let's see if we can figure this out. Looking like it's gonna be a couple bolts here. This one, these two. I don't see any over there. Maybe I'm gonna have to remove this fascia first. So take these ones off. Take the trim off the back, and maybe this front piece will come out. Or do I gotta remove the instrument cluster first? Yeah, I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to do this next part. And it's relatively rust free under here though, so that's good. Alright, so I'll get back with you guys once I figure it out how exactly it is that I'm going to do this. Alright, so it's been a couple days since I took the steering column out. That's over there now. I'm currently trying to remove the dash, and so I've got all of these bolts here along the bottom removed. Then I got a couple of them that were up here in the front. There's a couple of them behind the glove box. A few connecting this piece to this part, which appears to be integral to the actual structure of the car itself. And then I think that's pretty much it. But for some reason, this dash is not coming out, so it's loose. The only thing I can see that's causing this is where this piece meets this top dash plate that's up there. Along the seam, there's a bunch of like tamper-proof screws that I don't know how to get out. So if I can just not remove those, that'd be great. But the problem is that top dash piece also isn't coming out. So I'm currently in a standstill trying to figure out how to remove this. And as a result, it's probably going to take a few days to get this video made. I don't know what this thing is, but that's moving. So I'm going to go back to trying to figure this out, laying in the rust and the dirt and everything that I got going on. Yeah, so you can kind of, I don't got my flashlight on me, but right up there you can kind of see one. There's not really any way to get to them either, so I don't know how those are supposed to come apart. And I don't know what else could be holding this dash in here. So everything that I can see and everything that I can feel has been removed. Yeah, the only thing holding this part on is those tamper-proof screws. But what's holding this on? I don't know. I'm gonna go and figure this out. I'll get back to you guys probably in a few days again. Maybe, hopefully just a couple hours, but I don't know, we'll see what happens. Okay guys, so it's been a couple of weeks. A lot of in and out of port, a lot of long working days plus other stuff going on. But after roughly 3-ish weeks of struggling, I finally removed the dash. So in the previous section, I'm pretty sure I said that it was this piece wouldn't come off. That this piece wouldn't come off because of some spot welds that run along the top border here. But that turns out that's not it at all. So these screws right here are holding this fabric in, and then they're also acting as kind of a ledge for these. So this looks like it just slides off to the left, and then it just comes right out. You know, I wish there was some more information on tearing these cars apart, because that'd make my life so much easier than just having to figure everything out. Because I've spent the last, I mean, it's been 3 weeks, but in total I think it's been probably about like 8 or 9 hours trying to find out how this part of the dash comes off of there. So then to take this piece off, you can't, because this whole frame is integral to the body. So it's welded here on the inside, and then down back there a little bit on both sides, plus the spot welds going along the top holding it to the actual, you know, body itself. So that's all, it's all one piece, which means that instead of taking a wire brush to all of this like I thought I was going to, I might just call somebody to do some kind of like dustless blasting or something and come in here, because then they'll be able to get all of the nooks and crannies and all the stuff off of here a lot easier and a lot faster than I'll be able to with the wire wheel on my angle grinder. And then I can come through and repair this rust hole. This is the biggest one, if you can see that. So repair this rust hole, and there's one on the other side over there, and then a couple small spots here and there, but nothing super crazy. But yeah, so that's the update now. Also, update on the engine situation. I bought another one, so I need your guys' opinion. So do we do the 632 stroker that I have in my living room, or put a 12 valve in it? I'm thinking the 12 valve. This will be a lot cheaper to build than the 632, and it'll make the same, if not more, power with less effort. Plus it'll sound way cooler, and it'd be just that much more unique. It doesn't really matter what I put in it. I've got like 4 different engines I can choose from. So I've got that one. I can put my LS in there for the BMW. Also, by the way, the cage has been ordered, so that should be here soon, eventually, I hope. Oh, I gotta call him again. So, LS, 12 valve, 632. Or should I get really blasphemous and put an M120 Mercedes V12 in there? I don't know, I think that would be kind of cool. So now, I just gotta get the this fabric stuff off of here, out of the overhead. And then I'll pull the rocker panels off next, so I can get those new ones on there. That I can do with the wire brush, or with my wire brush, and clean up that frame rail and repaint it. But I'm gonna see how much my dustless blasting is gonna cost me. Got the AC box right there. I might just restore that because it spins pretty well. Yeah. See what happens. I gotta clean the inside of this thing though. It's starting to get a little full with parts. Alright. I'll be back in a minute. I think in the last video or last segment I said I was going to come back after I managed to find somebody to do some dustless blasting. And well, that endeavor did not work out like I had planned. So there's one company in the area that I live in that does it, and they relocated to Florida. So now I'm gonna have to go through and do all this stuff, get all this rust off the old-fashioned way, with the angle grinder and a wire wheel, which I'm not really looking forward to, but gotta do it. So right now I'm just kind of trying to pull all this old liner stuff out. It's all kind of moldy and gross and dry rotted, so I think I'm just gonna replace all of it. I don't know how I'm gonna replace all of it. I don't know if I'm gonna do it or if I'm gonna have somebody else do it. I think I'll have somebody else do it, probably, just because it'll be a higher quality. And I don't want to be coming through and doing doing all of this stuff again. So also floor pans, I'm pretty sure I said that those need to get replaced. So at least those two do. I got a new engine, or obviously I got, in the last video, last section, I think I showed you the different engines I got. This trans tunnel may or may not be used, because I don't know how tall or how large the new transmission is going to be to go behind it. I know that this is big enough to fit a couple of the like the older Chevys automatic transmissions, like a 700R4 or 4L80. So it might stay, because this is in pretty decent shape. But once again, just like with the main floor panels, there's a lot of heavy pitting over here on the sides. So I might just replace this one as well, just to get new floor pans all up front. These rear floor pans are in pretty good shape. There's a couple of small spots, like right here. It's a little bit. It's a spider web. I think there's a hole right there. But I think that's about it. In the rear floor pans, they're in pretty good shape. This back seat piece is pretty solid. There's no holes or anything in that. It's got some flash rusting on there, but that's just from the water coming in from like the rain and stuff. So very, very rapidly approaching the point where I don't really know what I'm going to do next. So I think I'm gonna get all this interior stuff out, get up some more of this, whatever this stuff is. I think I got to take those wires out. That shouldn't be too hard though. I'm not reusing any of those wires. They're all old and dry rotted and 6 volt or 8 volt or whatever it is. All crusty. So I do need this though. I need to save that. I think I'm just gonna get to it. I'll come back when I got an update. I know some people probably want to watch the entire process, but I don't really know how to set the camera up to do all of that. And I think it's just, at least right now, it's easier for me to just do the work and then explain what it is that I did afterwards. So I'm gonna go do that. I'll get back to you and I guess when I'm ready to prime. Actually, you know what? It's been a while since I put out a video. I think I'm going to call the video right here I'll get this edited and put up and everything, and then in the next video we'll take all of this stuff out, and then we'll start wire brushing pretty much all of everything in here. So at least that way I get a video out. All right, well, I guess I'll see you guys the next one.